Welcome back, Stoic seekers. In our previous episodes, we've delved into a wide range of Stoic principles, from mastering our perception and emotions to cultivating self-awareness, unbiased thought, taking right action, problem-solving, embracing duty, developing fortitude and resilience, and understanding the importance of virtue and kindness. We've built a solid foundation for living a more intentional, purposeful, and fulfilling life. But today, we're venturing into a concept that lies at the very core of Stoic wisdom and inner peace. Acceptance, or as the Stoics called it, amor fati, the love of fate. Now, before you start thinking this is about passively resigning yourself to whatever life throws your way, let's clarify. Acceptance, in the Stoic sense, is not about giving up or becoming apathetic. It's about embracing reality as it is, with all its joys and sorrows, its triumphs and setbacks. It's about finding peace and freedom in the midst of life's inevitable uncertainties and challenges. In this episode, we'll explore 10 Stoic lessons that will help you cultivate this powerful mindset of acceptance. We'll learn how to accept what happens, align our desires with what will be, and follow nature's orders as we would a doctor's. We'll also delve into the importance of not letting hope or fear control us, focusing on what's within our control, and recognizing that life is a journey, not a destination. So, if you're ready to let go of resistance, embrace the flow of life, and find tranquility in the present moment, then buckle up and get ready for a transformative exploration of Stoic acceptance. It's time to unleash your inner peace and live in harmony with the universe. If you found this episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Let's spread the Stoic wisdom and empower others to embrace acceptance, cultivate resilience, and live a life of true freedom and fulfillment. Lesson 1. The Art of Acquiescence, the Stoics' Guide to Embracing the Reality of It Is What It Is. All right, folks, let's kick off this episode on acceptance and amor fati, with a Stoic principle that's both simple and profound. Accept what happens. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another way of saying give up or be passive, let's unpack what the Stoics really meant by this. The Stoics weren't advocating for a life of resignation or defeatism. They were all about taking action, pursuing goals, and striving for excellence. But they also understood that the world doesn't always bend to our will. Things happen that we can't control, setbacks, disappointments, even tragedies. And the key to inner peace, they believed, is to accept these events with grace and equanimity, rather than fighting against them or dwelling in resentment and frustration. Epictetus, the no-nonsense Stoic teacher, put it this way: "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." In other words, stop resisting reality. Stop wishing things were different. Stop clinging to expectations that aren't being met, and stop fighting against the natural flow of events. Instead, embrace what is and find a way to make the most of it. The resistance rebellion. We humans are wired to resist change and discomfort. We crave predictability, control, and a world that conforms to our desires. When things don't go our way, our first instinct is often to fight back, to complain, to try to force the situation to bend to our will. Think about those times when you've been stuck in traffic, fuming and cursing at the other drivers, as if your anger could somehow magically clear the road ahead. Or maybe you've been passed over for a promotion and you've spent countless hours replaying the scenario in your head, feeling resentful and victimized. That's the resistance rebellion in action. It's the futile attempt to control what's beyond our control, and it only leads to frustration, anxiety, and a whole lot of wasted energy. The Stoic surrender. The Stoics offered a different path, one that's rooted in acceptance, surrender, and a deep trust in the wisdom of the universe. They understood that fighting against reality is like trying to swim upstream. It's exhausting and ultimately futile. But by surrendering to the flow, by accepting what is, we can find a sense of peace and even freedom in the midst of chaos. This doesn't mean we become passive or apathetic. It's not about giving up on our goals or resigning ourselves to a life of mediocrity. It's about recognizing that there are some things we can't change, and that our energy is better spent focusing on what we can control: our attitudes, our choices, and our actions. Modern-day acceptance. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom into the 21st century. Imagine you're diagnosed with a chronic illness. Your first reaction might be denial, anger, or despair. You might rail against the unfairness of it all, wishing things were different. But the Stoics would remind you that this resistance is only adding to your suffering. Instead, they would encourage you to accept the reality of your situation, to focus on what you can control: your treatment plan, your lifestyle choices, your mindset, and to find ways to live a fulfilling and meaningful life, even within the constraints of your illness. Or maybe you're going through a breakup. It's natural to feel heartbroken and to wish things had turned out differently. But by accepting the reality of the situation, you can start the healing process, learn from the experience, and move forward with your life. The Stoic advantage. By embracing acceptance, you're not just coping with adversity. You're also cultivating a sense of inner peace and resilience that can't be shaken by external events. You're freeing yourself from the tyranny of expectations and finding a deeper sense of freedom and contentment in the present moment. As the contemporary Stoic philosopher William B. Irvine puts it, acceptance is not about giving up or being passive. It's about recognizing the reality of our circumstances and choosing to respond in a way that empowers us rather than victimizes us. So, today let's make a commitment to practice the art of acquiescence. Let's accept what happens, let go of our resistance, and find peace in the present moment. Remember, the Stoics believed that true freedom comes not from controlling the world around us, but from mastering our inner world. And that starts with acceptance. Lesson 2. The Desire Detox. Aligning your wants with reality, the Stoic way. All right, folks, let's talk about something that can be both a source of immense joy and a wellspring of frustration. Desire. We all have dreams, ambitions, and things we yearn for in life. But what happens when those desires clash with reality? What happens when the world doesn't bend to our will and things don't go according to plan? The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about mastering their minds and emotions, had a radical solution for this dilemma. Align your desires with what will be. Now, before you start thinking this is about giving up on your dreams or settling for mediocrity, let's unpack what this really means. The Stoics weren't advocating for a life of passive resignation or lowered expectations. They understood that desire is a powerful force, capable of driving us to achieve great things. But they also recognized that unchecked desire, when it's fixated on things outside our control, can lead to frustration, anxiety, and a constant sense of dissatisfaction. Epictetus, the no-nonsense Stoic teacher, put it this way: freedom is not secured by filling up on your heart's desire, but by removing your desire. In other words, true freedom and happiness come not from getting everything we want, but from wanting what we already have, or at least aligning our desires with what's realistically attainable and within our control. It's about accepting the reality of our circumstances, embracing the present moment, and finding contentment in the journey, not just the destination. The friction of unfulfilled desires. Think about those times when you've been consumed by a desire for something, a promotion at work, a romantic relationship, a certain level of success or recognition. You might have spent countless hours daydreaming, strategizing, and even obsessing over how to achieve that desire. But what happens when it remains elusive, when the universe doesn't seem to be cooperating with your plans? It creates friction, a sense of internal conflict and frustration. It's like trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to fit, no matter how hard you push. And the more you resist, the more you suffer. The Stoics would argue that this friction is a sign that your desires are misaligned with reality. You're fighting against the natural order of things, trying to bend the universe to your will. And that's a recipe for disappointment, anxiety, and a whole lot of wasted energy. The Stoic approach: acceptance and adaptation. So how do you break free from this cycle of frustration and find peace and contentment in the face of unfulfilled desires? The Stoics offer a few strategies. 1. Reframe your desires. Instead of fixating on specific outcomes or external achievements, focus on the process, the effort, and the virtues you're cultivating along the way. 2. Embrace amor fati. This Latin phrase, meaning love of fate, encapsulates the Stoic ideal of accepting what happens, both the good and the bad, as part of the natural order of the universe. It's about finding a sense of peace and even gratitude in the unfolding of your life, even when it doesn't go according to plan. 3. Focus on what you can control. Remember the Stoic dichotomy of control. You can't control external events, but you can control your attitude, your choices, and your actions. Focus on what's within your power and let go of the need to control the uncontrollable. 4. Find joy in the journey. Life is not a race to a finish line. It's a journey to be savored and enjoyed. Find pleasure in the present moment, in the small victories, in the challenges that make you stronger and wiser. Modern-day examples. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom into the 21st century. Imagine you're applying for your dream job, but you keep getting rejected. Instead of dwelling on the disappointment and feeling like a failure, you can reframe your desire. Focus on the skills and experience you're gaining through the interview process, and trust that the right opportunity will come along when the time is right. Or maybe you're struggling with a health issue that's preventing you from pursuing certain activities or goals. Instead of resisting the reality of your situation and feeling resentful, you can embrace it with a Stoic spirit. Focus on what you can do, find new ways to express yourself, and find joy, and appreciate the strength and resilience you're developing through the challenge. The Stoic advantage. By aligning your desires with what will be, you're not just avoiding frustration and disappointment, you're also cultivating a sense of inner peace, acceptance, and even gratitude for the unfolding of your life. You're freeing yourself from the tyranny of expectations and embracing the beauty and wisdom of the present moment. Remember, the Stoics weren't about giving up on your dreams or settling for less. They were about finding a path to happiness and fulfillment that's sustainable, resilient, and in harmony with the natural order of things. So, let's embrace the Stoic challenge. Let go of our attachments to outcomes and find joy in the journey, not just the destination. Lesson 3. Nature knows best. The Stoics' prescription for a healthy life. All right, folks, let's talk about a concept that's at the core of Stoic philosophy and can be a real game changer when it comes to finding peace and acceptance. Follow nature's orders as you would a doctor's. Now, before you start picturing tree-hugging hippies and back-to-nature extremists, let's reframe this idea a bit. The Stoics weren't just talking about living in the woods or eating organic food, although those things can be great. They were talking about something much deeper, something that connects to our understanding of the universe, our place within it, and how to live a life that's in harmony with the natural order of things. The Stoic view of nature. The Stoics saw nature as a wise and benevolent force, a guiding principle that governs the universe with order and reason. They believed that everything in nature has a purpose, a role to play, and that by aligning ourselves with this natural order, we can find true happiness and fulfillment. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, put it this way in his Meditations. Just as we commonly hear people say the doctor prescribed someone particular riding exercises, or ice baths, or walking without shoes, we should in the same way say that nature prescribed someone to be diseased or disabled or to suffer any kind of impairment. In the case of the doctor, prescribed means something ordered to help aid someone's healing. But in the case of nature, it means that what happens to each of us is ordered to help aid our destiny. In other words, the Stoics saw even challenges, setbacks and hardships as part of nature's grand design. They believed that these events, while often painful or uncomfortable, are ultimately opportunities for growth, learning, and the development of our character. The doctor's orders. Think about it this way. When you go to the doctor with an ailment, you trust their expertise and follow their prescribed treatment plan, even if it involves taking bitter medicine or undergoing uncomfortable procedures. You understand that the doctor has your best interests at heart and that their orders are designed to help you heal and get back to a state of health and well-being. The Stoics believed that we should approach the prescriptions of nature with the same trust and acceptance. When faced with challenges, setbacks, or even tragedies, we should see them not as random acts of cruelty, but as opportunities to learn, grow, and fulfill our potential. Embracing the flow of life. This doesn't mean we should passively accept everything that happens to us or resign ourselves to a life of suffering. It's about recognizing that we can't control everything, and that fighting against the natural flow of events only leads to frustration and unhappiness. Instead, the Stoics encouraged us to embrace the flow of life, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to find meaning and purpose even in the midst of adversity. As Epictetus said, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." Modern-day examples. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom into the 21st century. Imagine you're planning a weekend getaway with friends, and a sudden storm throws a wrench in your plans. You could get upset, complain about the weather, and ruin everyone's mood. Or you could embrace the change, find an alternative activity, and create new memories that you wouldn't have otherwise experienced. Or maybe you're in the middle of a project at work, and your boss throws you a curveball, asking you to pivot and focus on a different task. You could resist the change, grumble about the disruption, and let it derail your productivity. Or you could adapt to the new situation, see it as a challenge, and use your creativity and resourcefulness to find a solution. The Stoic advantage. By following nature's orders, By embracing the flow of life and accepting what we can't control, we're not just reducing stress and anxiety. We're also cultivating a deeper sense of peace, resilience, and trust in the universe. We're recognizing that even the most challenging experiences can be opportunities for growth and transformation, and that by aligning ourselves with the natural order of things, we can find true happiness and fulfillment. Remember, the Stoics weren't just armchair philosophers. They were practical people who applied these principles to their daily lives. And so can you. By learning to trust in the wisdom of nature and embrace the flow of life, you can navigate any challenge with grace, courage, and a sense of inner peace that can't be shaken by external events. Lesson 4. The Subjective Reality Hack. The Stoics' Guide to Detaching from Drama. All right, folks, let's dive into a Stoic concept that might sound a bit radical at first. Nothing is good or bad, it's just an opinion. Now, before you start raising your eyebrows and thinking, wait a minute, are you saying that murder, theft, and natural disasters aren't objectively bad? Let's take a step back and unpack what the Stoics were really getting at. The Stoics weren't denying the reality of pain, suffering, or injustice in the world. They weren't suggesting that we should become indifferent to the plight of others or turn a blind eye to moral transgressions. What they were saying is that our experience of events, our emotional reactions to them, are largely shaped by our own judgments and interpretations. Epictetus, the no-nonsense Stoic teacher, put it this way: "It's not things that upset us, but our judgment about things." In other words, it's not the external event itself that causes our suffering, but the story we tell ourselves about it. It's our labels, our evaluations, our beliefs about what happened that create the emotional turmoil and drama. The label maker in your mind. Think of your mind as a label maker, constantly slapping stickers on everything you encounter. You see a traffic jam, and the label maker spits out terrible, frustrating, unfair. You receive a critical comment from your boss, and the label maker slaps on humiliating, unjust, I'm a failure. But the Stoics would argue that these labels are not inherent to the events themselves. They're our own subjective interpretations. And by changing the labels, we can change our entire experience of the situation. Reframing reality. The Stoic way. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom to life with a few modern-day examples. Imagine you're running late for a meeting because of unexpected traffic. Your initial reaction might be frustration and anxiety, labeling the situation as a disaster. But what if you reframe it? What if you see it as an opportunity to practice patience, to catch up on some phone calls, or to simply enjoy a few moments of solitude in your car? Suddenly, the same event takes on a completely different meaning, and your emotional response shifts accordingly. Or maybe you're faced with a difficult decision, like whether to accept a new job offer or stay in your current position. Your mind might be filled with conflicting thoughts and emotions, labeling one option as exciting and full of potential, and the other as safe and comfortable. But by stepping back and examining the situation objectively, weighing the pros and cons of each option without judgment, you can make a more informed and rational decision, free from the pull of emotional labels. The Stoic advantage. Emotional freedom. By recognizing that nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so, you're not just avoiding unnecessary drama and emotional turmoil, you're also cultivating a sense of inner freedom and empowerment. You're no longer at the mercy of external events or your own knee-jerk reactions. You're the master of your own interpretations, the author of your own story. As the contemporary Stoic philosopher Massimo Pigliucci puts it, The Stoics teach us that we have the power to choose our own perspective on events, and that this choice has a profound impact on our happiness and well-being. By cultivating a more objective and flexible mindset, we can navigate life's challenges with greater ease and resilience. The takeaway. So the next time you find yourself getting caught up in the drama of a situation, remember the Stoic wisdom. Nothing is inherently good or bad, it's all about your perception. Take a step back, challenge your assumptions, and reframe the situation in a way that empowers you rather than victimizes you. By mastering the art of subjective reality, you'll not only reduce stress and anxiety, but you'll also gain a greater sense of control over your own life and happiness. You'll become more adaptable, resilient, and capable of finding peace and contentment in any circumstance. Remember, the power to shape your reality lies within you. Choose your thoughts wisely, and you'll choose your destiny. Lesson 5. The Hope and Fear. Tug of War. The Stoics' Guide to Emotional Liberation. All right, folks, let's talk about two emotions that can feel like they're constantly pulling us in opposite directions: hope and fear. We all experience them, from the nervous anticipation of a job interview to the dread of a potential setback. They're like two sides of the same coin, both rooted in our desires and expectations about the future. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about mastering their minds and emotions, had a unique perspective on this emotional tug-of-war. They recognized that both hope and fear can be sources of disturbance and unhappiness if we allow them to control us. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher and playwright, put it this way in his Moral Letters: "Cease to hope and you will cease to fear." The primary cause of both these ills is that instead of adapting ourselves to present circumstances, we send out thoughts too far ahead. In other words, both hope and fear are projections into the future, fixated on things that are ultimately outside of our control. When we pin our happiness on a hoped-for outcome, or let our anxieties about potential misfortunes consume us, we're essentially giving away our power to the unpredictable winds of fate. The emotional pendulum. Think about those times when you've been swinging between hope and fear. Maybe you're waiting for the results of a medical test, hoping for good news but fearing the worst. Or perhaps you're in the midst of a job search, hopeful about landing your dream position, but also terrified of rejection. In those moments, it's like you're on an emotional pendulum, swinging back and forth between the highs of hope and the lows of fear. And this constant fluctuation can be exhausting, leaving you feeling drained, anxious, and unable to fully embrace the present moment. The Stoic approach: finding equilibrium. So how do you break free from this emotional pendulum and find a more balanced and centered state of being? The Stoics offer a few strategies. 1. Focus on the present. The Stoics emphasize the importance of living in the present moment, rather than dwelling on the past or projecting into the future. By focusing on what you can control right now, your actions, your thoughts, your attitude, you can reduce anxiety and find a sense of peace and purpose, regardless of what the future holds. 2. Accept what you can't control. Recognize that there are many things in life that are beyond your control. The weather, other people's actions, the economy, even your own health to some extent. Instead of fighting against these externals, accept them with grace and focus on what you can influence. 3. Cultivate amor fati. This Latin phrase, meaning love of fate, encapsulates the Stoic ideal of embracing whatever happens, both the good and the bad, as part of the natural order of the universe. It's about finding a sense of peace and even gratitude in the unfolding of your life, even when it doesn't go according to plan. Fourth, practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your thoughts and emotions as they arise, without judgment. Notice when you're getting caught up in hopes or fears about the future, and gently bring your attention back to the present moment. 5. Focus on your virtues. Instead of pinning your happiness on external outcomes, focus on cultivating your inner virtues. Wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These are the things that truly matter, and they're entirely within your control. Modern-day examples. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom into the 21st century. Imagine you're waiting to hear back about a job interview. You're hopeful that you'll get the offer, but you're also terrified of rejection. Instead of letting these emotions consume you, you can focus on the present moment, practice gratitude for the opportunity, and continue to pursue other leads and opportunities, regardless of the outcome of this particular interview. Or maybe you're planning a big event, like a wedding or a graduation party. You're hopeful that everything will go perfectly, but you're also anxious about potential setbacks or mishaps. Instead of letting these worries ruin your enjoyment of the planning process, you can focus on what you can control, the details, the logistics, the guest list, and accept that some things might not go according to plan. The Stoic advantage. By not letting hope or fear control you, you're cultivating a sense of inner peace and resilience that can't be shaken by external circumstances. You're freeing yourself from the emotional roller coaster and embracing a more balanced and centered way of being. Remember, the Stoics weren't about suppressing emotions or denying our hopes and fears. They were about mastering them so that they don't master us. By cultivating a Stoic mindset, we can navigate life's uncertainties with grace, wisdom, and a deep sense of inner peace. Lesson 6. The Stoics' Circle of Power, Mastering the Art of Inner Focus. All right, folks, let's talk about a Stoic principle that's like a superpower for navigating life's chaos. Focus on what's under your control. Now, before you roll your eyes and think this is just another self-help cliché, let's unpack what the Stoics were really getting at. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about wisdom and resilience, understood that the world is a messy, unpredictable place. There are countless things outside of our control: the weather, traffic, other people's opinions, the economy, even our own health to some extent. Trying to control these externals is like trying to herd cats. It's frustrating, exhausting, and ultimately futile. Epictetus, the no-nonsense Stoic teacher, put it this way: some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and, in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions. In other words, there's a clear dividing line. On one side are the things we can directly influence: our thoughts, our choices, our behaviors. On the other side are the things that are largely beyond our grasp: external events, other people's actions, the whims of fate. The Stoics taught us to focus on the former and accept the latter. The inner versus outer game. Think of it like a game of tennis. You can't control where your opponent hits the ball, the wind conditions, or the calls of the umpire. But you can control your own footwork, your swing, your strategy, and your mental game. You can focus on playing your best, regardless of the external circumstances. The Stoics would argue that life is a lot like that tennis match. We're constantly faced with challenges, setbacks, and unexpected events that are outside of our control. But we always have the power to choose our response, to focus on our own inner game, and to play to the best of our abilities, regardless of the score. The freedom of focus. Now, this doesn't mean we should become passive or apathetic. It's not about giving up or resigning ourselves to whatever life throws at us. It's about recognizing where our true power lies and focusing our efforts where they can make a real difference. By focusing on what's within our control, we're not just reducing stress and anxiety. We're also creating a sense of agency and empowerment. We're taking ownership of our lives rather than feeling like victims of circumstance. And that's a recipe for a more fulfilling, joyful, and resilient life. Modern-day examples. Let's bring this Stoic wisdom into the 21st century. Imagine you're stuck in a traffic jam on your way to an important meeting. You can't control the traffic, but you can control how you respond to it. Instead of getting angry and stressed, you can use the time to catch up on phone calls, listen to a podcast, or simply practice mindfulness and enjoy a few moments of quiet reflection. Or maybe you're dealing with a difficult coworker who's constantly undermining your work or spreading negativity. You can't control their behavior, but you can control your own. You can choose to focus on your own tasks, set boundaries, and communicate assertively, rather than getting caught up in their drama. The Stoic Challenge. The Stoics challenge us to examine our lives and identify the areas where we're wasting energy on things we can't control. They urge us to shift our focus inward, to cultivate our inner virtues, and to make choices that are aligned with our values and goals. So, today, let's make a conscious effort to focus on what's within our control. Let's let go of the things we can't change and channel our energy into the areas where we can make a real difference. It's not always easy, but it's the Stoic path to a more peaceful, empowered, and fulfilling life. Remember, the Stoics believed that true freedom comes not from controlling the external world, but from mastering our inner world. And that starts with focusing on what's truly ours, our thoughts, our choices, and our actions. Lesson 7. The Road Less Traveled. The Stoics' Guide to Embracing the Journey. All right, folks, let's talk about a concept that's as old as time itself, but somehow we still manage to forget it. Life is a journey, not a destination. Now, I know this might sound like a bumper sticker slogan or a cheesy Instagram caption, but trust me, the Stoics, those wise folks from ancient times, were onto something profound with this idea. The Stoics understood that we humans have a tendency to get fixated on goals, achievements, and end results. We're always striving for the next promotion, the bigger house, the perfect relationship, the ultimate bucket list experience. And while there's nothing wrong with having ambitions and dreams, the Stoics would remind us that true fulfillment lies not in reaching the destination, but in embracing the journey itself. Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher and playwright, put it this way: "Life's like a play. It's not the length, but the excellence of the acting that matters." In other words, it's not about how long you live or how many accomplishments you rack up. It's about how you show up in each moment, how you engage with the world, and how you cultivate virtue and wisdom along the way. It's about enjoying the ride, not just waiting for the final stop. The destination delusion. We live in a culture that's obsessed with destinations. We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that happiness lies in achieving certain goals or reaching certain milestones. We're encouraged to set ambitious targets, to climb the ladder of success, and to never settle for anything less than the best. But the Stoics would argue that this relentless pursuit of destinations can be a trap, leading to a constant sense of dissatisfaction and a feeling of never having enough. It's like chasing a rainbow. You might run and run, but you'll never actually catch it, and in the process, you'll miss out on the beauty of the journey itself. Think about those times when you've been so focused on a goal that you've forgotten to enjoy the process of getting there. Maybe you were so obsessed with getting a promotion that you neglected your relationships and your health. Or perhaps you were so determined to lose weight that you missed out on the simple pleasures of enjoying food and movement. That's the destination delusion in action. It's the belief that happiness lies in some future achievement rather than in the present moment and the journey itself. The Stoic approach: embracing the present. So, how do you break free from the destination delusion and embrace the Stoic philosophy of enjoying the journey? Here are a few strategies. 1. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Instead of fixating on the end goal, pay attention to the steps you're taking to get there. Find joy in the learning, the growth, and the challenges you overcome along the way. 2. Practice gratitude. Take time each day to appreciate the good things in your life, no matter how small. This will help you cultivate a sense of contentment and joy in the present moment, rather than constantly longing for something more. 3. Embrace impermanence. The Stoics understood that everything in life is temporary. Nothing lasts forever, and change is the only constant. By embracing this impermanence, we can learn to appreciate the beauty and preciousness of each moment, rather than clinging to things that will inevitably fade away. 4th, find meaning in the everyday. The Stoics believed that even the most mundane tasks can be infused with meaning and purpose. By approaching every activity with intentionality and focus, we can find joy and satisfaction in the present moment, regardless of the outcome. Modern-day examples. The Stoic approach to embracing the journey is just as relevant today as it was in ancient times. We see examples of people finding fulfillment in the process, not just the destination, all around us. The artist who enjoys the creative process. They might not sell every painting or get every song on the radio, but they find deep satisfaction in the act of creation itself. The athlete who loves the training. They might not win every competition, but they find joy in pushing their limits, improving their skills, and experiencing the camaraderie of their teammates. The parent who cherishes every moment with their child. They know that childhood is fleeting, and they savor every hug, every laugh, every milestone, recognizing the beauty and preciousness of the journey. The Stoic advantage. By embracing the journey and letting go of the destination delusion, you're not just reducing stress and anxiety, you're also creating a more fulfilling and joyful life. You're cultivating a sense of gratitude, presence, and appreciation for the richness of human experience. Remember, the Stoics believed that the good life is not about reaching some distant goal, but about living each day with virtue, wisdom, and a deep appreciation for the present moment. So, let's embrace the journey, folks, and let's make the most of every step along the way. Lesson 8. The Judgment Detox, the Stoic Path to Compassion and Understanding. All right, folks, let's talk about a habit that's as common as it is destructive: judging others. We all do it, whether it's sizing up a stranger based on their appearance, making assumptions about a colleague's motivations, or criticizing a friend's choices. It's easy to fall into the trap of labeling people, putting them in boxes, and seeing them through the lens of our own biases and preconceptions. But the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about wisdom and compassion, had a different approach. They understood that judging others is not only unfair, but it's also a major source of conflict, negativity, and unhappiness. As Marcus Aurelius put it in his Meditations, "People exist for one another. Teach them then, or bear with them." In other words, we have a choice. We can either try to change people, to mold them into our own image of what's right or acceptable, or we can accept them as they are, with all their flaws and imperfections, and focus on our own actions and reactions. The judgmental mind. Our minds are like hyperactive judges, constantly evaluating, categorizing and labeling everything we encounter. We see someone wearing a flashy outfit and instantly label them as shallow or materialistic. We hear someone express a political opinion we disagree with and dismiss them as ignorant or brainwashed. We witness someone struggling with a personal challenge and judge them as weak or unworthy. But the Stoics would remind us that these judgments are often based on incomplete information, personal biases, and a lack of empathy. We don't know the full story behind someone's choices or behaviors. We don't know what they've been through, what challenges they're facing, or what dreams and aspirations they hold dear. As Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb people, but only their judgments about them." In other words, it's not the external event or person that causes our suffering, but our own internal judgments and reactions. By judging others, we're not just creating distance and division, we're also poisoning our own minds with negativity and resentment. The Stoic approach: empathy and understanding. So how do you break free from the judgmental mindset and cultivate a more compassionate and understanding approach to others? The Stoics offer a few strategies. 1. Practice empathy. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Try to understand their perspectives, their motivations, and their feelings. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it does mean recognizing their humanity and treating them with compassion. 2. Look for the good in others. Everyone has strengths, talents, and unique qualities to offer the world. Instead of focusing on people's flaws or shortcomings, look for the good in them and appreciate their contributions. 3. Avoid comparisons. The Stoics warned against the dangers of comparison, recognizing that it often leads to envy, resentment, and a sense of inadequacy. Focus on your own journey, your own growth, and your own definition of success. 4. Assume good intentions. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Assume that they're acting from a place of good intentions, even if their actions or words seem hurtful or misguided. 5. Focus on your own actions. Instead of judging others, focus on your own behavior and choices. Are you living in alignment with your values? Are you treating others with kindness and respect? Modern-day examples. The Stoic approach to non-judgment is particularly relevant in today's polarized and divisive world. It's easy to get caught up in judging those who hold different beliefs or come from different backgrounds. But the Stoics would remind us that we're all part of the same human family, and that judging others only creates separation and conflict. Think about those times when you've made snap judgments about someone based on their appearance, their social media posts, or their political affiliation. How often were those judgments accurate? How often did they lead to misunderstandings or missed opportunities for connection? By practicing empathy, looking for the good in others and focusing on our own actions, we can create a more compassionate, understanding and connected world. The Stoic advantage. By refusing to judge others, you're not just being a good person, you're also creating a more peaceful and fulfilling life for yourself. You're freeing yourself from the negativity and resentment that come with judgment, and you're opening yourself up to the beauty and diversity of the human experience. Remember, the Stoics believed that we're all interconnected and that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of others. So, let's choose compassion over judgment, understanding over condemnation, and connection over division. By embracing the Stoic principle of non-judgment, we can create a world that's more harmonious, just, and compassionate for all. Lesson 9. The River of Time, the Stoics' Guide to Embracing the Flow of Change. All right, folks, let's dive into a Stoic truth that's both humbling and liberating. Everything is constantly changing. Now, before you start humming Bob Dylan's classic tune, let's explore what this really means from a Stoic perspective. It's not just about acknowledging that things change, it's about embracing the dynamic nature of reality and finding peace in the midst of its constant flux. The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about wisdom and resilience, understood that the universe is in a perpetual state of motion and transformation. Heraclitus, a pre-Socratic philosopher whose ideas influenced Stoicism, famously said, "The only constant in life is change." The Stoics took this idea to heart, recognizing that everything in the universe is in a state of flux, from the tiniest subatomic particle to the grandest celestial body. The illusion of permanence. We humans have a funny way of clinging to the illusion of permanence. We crave stability, predictability, and the comfort of the familiar. We want our relationships, our possessions, our health, and even our own identities to remain static and unchanging. But the Stoics would argue that this desire for permanence is a delusion, a futile attempt to resist the natural flow of the universe. Think about it. Have you ever tried to hold on to a moment of joy, wishing it would last forever, only to have it inevitably fade away? Or have you ever mourned the loss of a loved one, a job, or a cherished possession, as if it were a permanent fixture in your life? The Stoics would remind us that everything is temporary. Our bodies change, our relationships evolve, our circumstances shift. The world around us is in a constant state of flux, and resisting this reality only leads to frustration, disappointment, and suffering. The Stoic embrace of change. So how do you break free from the illusion of permanence and embrace the ever-changing nature of reality? The Stoics offer a few strategies. 1. Practice non-attachment. Don't cling to things, people, or situations as if they'll last forever. Appreciate them in the present moment, but also recognize their impermanence and be willing to let go when the time comes. As Marcus Aurelius put it, loss is nothing more than change, and change is nature's delight. 2. Cultivate flexibility and adaptability. The world is constantly throwing us curveballs. The ability to adapt, to pivot, to find new solutions and opportunities in the face of change is key to navigating life's challenges with grace and resilience. 3. Focus on the present moment. Don't dwell on the past or worry about the future. Embrace the present moment, the only thing you truly have control over. As Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." 4. Find beauty in the impermanence. The Stoics found a certain beauty and even a sense of peace in the impermanence of life. They recognized that change is what makes life dynamic, interesting, and full of possibilities. Modern-day examples. The Stoic perspective on impermanence is just as relevant today as it was in ancient times. We see examples of its truth all around us. Technology. Think about how rapidly technology evolves. The smartphone you cherish today might be obsolete in a few years. Embracing this rapid pace of change allows us to adapt and stay ahead of the curve. Relationships. Friendships, romantic relationships, even family dynamics evolve over time. People change, circumstances change, and it's important to be adaptable and understanding rather than clinging to an idealized past. Career paths. The job market is constantly shifting, and the skills that are in demand today might not be relevant tomorrow. Embracing lifelong learning and being open to new opportunities can help us navigate these changes with confidence and resilience. The Stoic advantage. By embracing the reality of impermanence, you're not just becoming more adaptable and resilient, you're also cultivating a deeper appreciation for the present moment. You're learning to savor the good times, navigate the challenges, and find beauty and meaning in the ever-changing tapestry of life. Remember, the Stoics weren't just about enduring change, they were about thriving in the midst of it. So let's embrace the flow, folks, and let's make the most of every precious moment, knowing that change is not just inevitable, it's also the source of life's greatest beauty and opportunity. Lesson 10. The Final Frontier. The Stoics' Guide to Embracing Mortality. All right, folks, let's wrap up this episode on Meditations on Mortality with a Stoic principle that might seem a bit heavy, but trust me, it's incredibly liberating. Don't fear death, fear the fear of death. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Death? Isn't that like the ultimate downer? Why would I want to think about that? We live in a culture that's obsessed with youth, vitality, and the pursuit of immortality. We avoid talking about death, we try to distract ourselves from its inevitability, and we cling to the hope that somehow, some way, we might escape its grasp. But the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were all about wisdom and facing reality head-on, had a different perspective. They saw death not as an enemy to be feared, but as a natural part of life, a final chapter that gives meaning and urgency to all that comes before. As Marcus Aurelius put it in his Meditations, "Death smiles at us all. All we can do is smile back." In other words, death is inevitable. It's the one appointment we can't cancel, the one deadline we can't postpone. And by embracing this reality, by facing our mortality with courage and acceptance, we can free ourselves from the fear that holds us back and live a life that's truly full and meaningful. The fear of the unknown. The fear of death is often rooted in the fear of the unknown. We don't know what happens after we die, and that uncertainty can be terrifying. We worry about the pain of dying, the loss of our loved ones, the cessation of our existence. And these fears can cast a shadow over our lives, preventing us from fully embracing the present moment and living with joy and purpose. But the Stoics would argue that this fear is largely a product of our own imaginations. We create stories about death. We project our own anxieties and insecurities onto it, and we allow those fears to control us. As Epictetus said, "Do you then ponder how the supreme of human evils, the surest mark of the base and cowardly, is not death, but the fear of death? I urge you to discipline yourself against such fear. Direct all your thinking, exercises, and reading this way, and you will know the only path to human freedom. In other words, it's not death itself that's the problem, it's our fear of it. And by facing that fear, by examining it and challenging its power over us, we can find a sense of liberation and peace that allows us to live more fully and authentically. The Stoic approach to mortality. So, how do you overcome the fear of death and embrace the Stoic ideal of amor fati, the love of fate? Here are a few strategies. 1. Contemplate your mortality. The Stoics practiced memento mori, or the meditation on death, as a way to remind themselves of life's impermanence and to prioritize what truly matters. Take some time each day to reflect on your own mortality. This might sound morbid, but it can actually be incredibly clarifying and empowering. 2. Focus on the present moment. Don't waste your precious time worrying about the future or dwelling on the past. Embrace the present moment, the only thing you truly have control over. Live each day as if it were your last, not in a reckless or hedonistic way, but in a way that's full of gratitude, purpose, and connection. 3. Live a virtuous life. The Stoics believed that the best way to prepare for death is to live a life of virtue. By cultivating wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance, you're creating a legacy that will outlive you, a contribution to the world that will continue to ripple outward even after you're gone. 4. Embrace the unknown. The Stoics accepted that death is a mystery, and they didn't try to pretend otherwise. Instead of fearing the unknown, they embraced it with curiosity and acceptance, recognizing that it's a natural part of the cycle of life. Modern-day examples. The Stoic approach to mortality might seem countercultural in a society that's obsessed with youth and longevity, but it's a perspective that can bring profound peace and clarity, especially in times of crisis or loss. Think about those individuals who face terminal illness with courage and grace, focusing on spending their remaining time with loved ones and making the most of each day. Or consider those who dedicate their lives to service and making a positive impact on the world, knowing that their legacy will live on long after they're gone. These individuals are embodying the Stoic ideal of amor fati, embracing the reality of their mortality and using it as a catalyst for living a more meaningful and purposeful life. The Stoic advantage. By facing your fear of death and embracing the Stoic perspective on mortality, you're not just overcoming anxiety and existential dread, you're also freeing yourself to live a life of greater courage, purpose, and joy. You're recognizing that your time is limited, and you're choosing to make the most of it, to leave your mark on the world, and to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, from birth to death. Remember, the Stoics believed that the ultimate goal of life is to live in accordance with nature, and that includes accepting the natural cycle of life and death. So, let's embrace our mortality, folks, and let's use it as a reminder to live each day with intention, gratitude, and a deep appreciation for the precious gift of life. And there you have it, folks. We've journeyed through the Stoic concept of acceptance, exploring 10 powerful lessons on how to embrace the reality of life, find peace in the present moment, and cultivate a deep sense of inner freedom. Remember, the Stoics weren't advocating for passive resignation or a life devoid of ambition. They were all about aligning our desires with what is, letting go of resistance, and finding joy and meaning in the unfolding of our lives, even when things don't go according to plan. So, as we wrap up this 11th episode in our Stoic series, I encourage you to reflect on these lessons and start applying them to your own life. Embrace the challenges, accept the uncertainties, and find the beauty in the impermanence of it all. Remember, the Stoic path is not about controlling the world around us, but about mastering our inner world and finding peace in the midst of life's chaos. If you found this episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. Let's spread the Stoic wisdom and empower others to embrace acceptance, cultivate resilience, and live a life of true freedom and fulfillment. Join us next time as we conclude our series with the 12th and final part, focusing on meditation on mortality and the Stoics' perspective on death. Until then, keep those Stoic vibes high, and remember, amor fati, love your fate.